So I've already mentioned Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, but Britain and the USA have also backed military coups against similar leaders, such as Mossadegh in Iran in 1953, Jose Arbenz in Guatemala in 1954, President Sukarno in Indonesia in 1965, Salvador Allende in Chile in 1973, not to mention Kwame Nkrumah himself, the man who coined the term neocolonialism, in Ghana in 1964. Now all of these leaders had policies which challenged the kind of neo-colonial relationship. They wanted to nationalize industry, nationalize land. They said, no, look, these foreign colonial corporations no longer own our land and industry and so on. We want them to be owned by the people. And so for example in Iran, Mossadegh nationalized the oil fields that had been owned by BP, British Petroleum, originally called British Persian oil. And for these kinds of policies, the US and Britain decided to support military coups against these leaders. And dependency theorists would also interpret the West's more recent wars as attempts by the core, the global north, to maintain its exploitation of the periphery, the global south. For example, from this perspective, the US-UK wars against both Iraq in 2003 and Libya in 2011, they would analyse them as both being attempts to maintain the global north's control over strategic oil resources, to ensure that they were used to enrich the north rather than to develop the south. And similarly, the US naval manoeuvres against China in the South China Sea underway right now will be interpreted by dependency theorists as attempts to maintain control over China's trade routes so that China maintains its dependence on the US. So in effect, dependency theory views the military of the core countries, the global north, as simply a means of keeping the periphery, the global south, in a position of dependency and maintaining that flow of resources from south to north. So in summary, the contemporary divide between the global north and the global south was created by colonialism, which systematically impoverished the south and enriched the north. Now, whilst European colonialism was a historical phenomenon, reaching its height in the 19th century, based on the direct political control of the global south by the global north, neocolonialism is a modern phenomenon, based on the economic control of the south by the north. And under neocolonialism, the countries of the global south have formal political independence, but wealth and resources continue to be transferred from south to north. This transfer of wealth is ensured by mechanisms such as TNCs, debt payments, unfair trade, and tax havens. Now, if such processes are challenged, military force may be used by the core countries of the global north against the periphery countries of the global south, as has occurred in the Congo, Indonesia, Iran, Guatemala, Chile, Ghana, Iraq, Libya, and elsewhere. And dependency theory highlights the dependence of the global south on the global north. It therefore highlights the structural inequality of the global economy, which is based on a global division of labour between the periphery, the global south, whose role is to provide raw materials and cheap labour for the advanced industries of the core, the global north. And the north, from this analysis, is largely responsible for the poverty of the south, as it systematically exploits and impoverishes the south, and uses all its financial, economic and military power to maintain the south in its dependent and impoverished position. So if this is true, the real question is, what are you going to do about it?